Well, good afternoon, everybody. How y'all doing? Pretty good here, and welcome to the channel. Hey, I was at a dealership not too long ago, and this was when I was looking to buy, and actually did at least put an order in for the 2020 Tacoma. And I got to looking, you know, while you're there, they got to do their thing, appraise your truck, and you can get all their numbers together. And believe it or not, there's actually other customers there. So I had some free time. So in addition to shooting some video of what they had in the showroom and that kind of stuff, I went outside and I was looking at some of their Tacomas, some that they have on the lot, the 2019s. And in doing that, I found a couple that were lifted. Now, first of all, let me say that if you're going to have a lift done, you're going to pay about 2 or 3 times what it costs if you have it done at the dealership. Now, nothing wrong with that. They got to make money, right? I mean, if they don't mark it up, why are they in business? So I understand that. But there are cheaper routes, like if you go to a shop and have it done yourself, you'll probably save at least half. But that's not my point. So, excuse me, I'm looking around and I see this lifted truck, and man, it looks good. And it looks about the same as what mine did up there before I took the lift and stuff off. So I thought I would explore a little further, you know. So I'm out there and I'm crawling around looking under the truck with my camera, you know, a little bit. Didn't get any footage because it was too dark. But I'm crawling around and I'm looking, and I see that it's a 3.2 lift. Now, it's the same exact lift, at least in appearance. Excuse me, it's hot out here. The same exact in appearance as to what I had on my Tacoma. So it's got the 2-inch, you know, block in the back, or 3-inch, or whatever it was, and then the spacer in the front. That's it. That's the lift. So it got me to thinking, you know, I get a lot of questions on the channel, and I see a lot of chatter out there about, well, if you lift your truck, you're going to void your warranty. You know, if your engine blows up, they're not going to cover it. Well, first of all, that's a bunch of BS anyway, because they're not related. Unless they can prove somehow that by lifting the truck, it caused your motor to blow up. I don't know. So anyway, I get a lot of comments about warranties and stuff, and I got to thinking, you know, this is the exact same lift as what I had on my Tacoma. So what's the difference? What, is there some kind of an angle here? Is there something going on? Well, I'd say there probably is. Because, I mean, let's face it, in the end, for the most part, a chunk of steel that is the block in the back and a spacer is the same thing. Unless they've been made with some kind of inferior equipment, I don't know. But most of these places get the stuff from the same company, you know, Rough Country or Ready Lift or, you know, whatever. I think this one might have had a Ready Lift on it. I'm not exactly sure. But they get their stuff from the same vendors, right? So what's the angle? Why do people think that? Well, I can see one perspective from the dealership standpoint. You know, if you take your vehicle to a shop, and let's say that they don't torque the U-bolts in the back down correctly. Let's take a look back there. Because you have to put longer U-bolts, these bolts you guys can see right here. There are 2 of them, 4 bolts on each one, or 4 nuts I should say. And they're going to be longer because you're going to have a block in there, right? Makes sense. So if these weren't torqued down properly, and for some reason they were so bad that the bolt flew off and the block flew out and your truck tilted sideways, you would have a problem and probably would do some suspension damage. Now, I could see why that would be a problem for the dealership, right? I mean, if they didn't do the work and it was done improperly, why in the world would they foot the bill for something that you had done somewhere else? So I fully understand that. But let's just assume for a moment that that's not the case. And in most occurrences, that's not gonna be the case, because hopefully you're going to an accredited quality shop, right? So what's the other scenario? Well, let's say the lift is done properly, everything is right, and for some reason, I don't know, let's say that one of your shocks back there starts leaking. You know, this blue thing right here, let's say that it starts leaking or it becomes defective for some reason, or I don't know, maybe it cracks. Who knows? Anything can happen. There's a lot of stress back there in the rear end. So let's say that that happens. Now, unless it can be proven somehow that by having that lift done somewhere else that it caused the failure in that shock, the dealership should cover it, because what you did had nothing to do with what went wrong. For instance, let's say that you put a cold air intake in the motor or on the engine, and for some reason it goes bad. I don't know, or it's just there and the shock breaks. Well, one doesn't have anything to do with the other, so there's no reason that your warranty shouldn't cover the shock in the back because you put a cold air intake in the front. I don't know, that line of reasoning to me always is just funny, because it has to be a direct cause of something that went wrong. So, back to the lift. What is the advantage to doing it at the dealer? You know, it's the same thing, except you're going to pay a lot more money for it. Again, because they have to incorporate a markup, because they're in business to make money, right? I fully understand that. Your only advantage that I can see in having it done at the dealership is if by chance there's something that your installer, your third-party installer may have done. For instance, my little U-bolt example there, that breaks and causes issues with the rest of the suspension. If you had it done at the dealership, and you can prove that, they're going to cover it because it would have been their work that caused the problem. Now, most third parties that I know of, most little shops that you might go to other than the dealership, are going to cover their work. Again, if you're going to a reputable quality shop, they're going to cover their own work. So, in the event that something like that would happen, you're going to have, in essence, warranty from them to cover that problem. Now, that's something that you ought to check. If you're having work done, and get it in writing, because Joe, who might be there that week, may not be there next week, and when something happens, God forbid it ever does, and you go back in to make a claim, and you didn't have it in writing, and Joe's gone, or maybe Joe's memory's just not very good, and he never said that, even though he did. You need to be able to have proof that they said that they would replace anything suspension related that could have been caused by their workmanship or the parts they installed. It's a pretty simple thing to ask, and I would say if you come across a shop that won't do that, that won't put it in writing, and won't tell you that they're going to cover their work in the event that something goes wrong, you're at the wrong shop. You need to go somewhere else. Now, the other thing is peace of mind. You know, dealerships are representatives of the giant car manufacturers, right? In this case, Toyota. They have a reputation to uphold. If they do work and it causes a problem and they've warranted it, they're going to fix it. And they're going to fix everything that would have been caused by what they did. Particularly if you have a new vehicle like I do. My Tacoma up there is a 2018. When I say new, I mean it's still under warranty. So you're going to have complete coverage on the vehicle anyway. So that's the only real reason why I guess I would go to a dealership and have something like that done, or pay the money on it. Now, the last thing that I want to mention, there is some pricing wiggle room, of course, in the money that they're charging for those aftermarket parts. They're not paying full price. I can tell you that the material for the lift that I did, a 3.2 ready lift on this truck, costs about $350. That's what they have in it roughly, and they probably get a discount beyond that. So they probably have about 200 bucks in the parts, plus labor. So let's say they have, I don't know, $500 in it. Let's even go crazy and give them 1,000. Let's say they have 1,000 in that. They're charging almost $7. Sometimes a little bit less than that, 4 or 5. But you can see what the markup is, at least 4, 5, or 6 times what it really costs them to do that work. So you do have some negotiating room in there. And when you go in, and if you're looking at a truck that was lifted by the dealership, go in there armed with knowledge. Find out what the lift is that they have on the truck. Find out what the average labor rate is. It's pretty easy. All you got to do is Google it. Find out what the average labor rate is for that kind of a job. And then go in armed, because you can tell them, hey, it only cost you this much to do it. Why in the world would I pay 6 times that price? Anyway, just wanted to get on here, talk about that a little bit. I found it kind of interesting when I was looking around the other day at what these things cost and what they really are. It's the same thing. Leave a comment down below. Let me know if you agree. Would you pay that kind of money for a lift that costs 1/6 of what they're charging? Let me know. As usual, appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time on the web. Have a great day.